Great to see everyone again. Great crowd for Johann Kerbrat, no surprise. Robinhood's crypto guru, strategist, general manager, business head. I've been watching what Robinhood's been doing under Johann's leadership, and it's been really, really impressive. From the Bitstamp acquisition to really just growing around the world, building their product library. So I was super excited to be here on stage with him, be here with all of you. They dropped some really interesting news today, actually two forms of news. I'm going to hit both of them, but let me start with the Robinhood chain testnet announcement, their layer 2. I find it, I want to ask a kind of general question to Johann, which is, what's the plan? How are you thinking about it? What's the business opportunity? And also, I want to ask you maybe a leading question. Who do you view as your primary competitor for this, just to be a bit provocative, for this new Robinhood chain?
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, what has been super excited is this idea of actually bringing utility on chain. You know, we are not just always talking about trading crypto. We think it's important, but at some point we also need a utility. And we think bringing US stocks, US ETF, and way more in the future on chain is going to be important. The competitors are all of them, and at the same time, none of them. I think for us, what we want to focus on is making sure we can offer 24/7 trading of US stocks and ETF, private equity in the future. And, you know, L2, anyone who's connected to the EVMs will be able to share the liquidity between the chain. And we'll do what we do best, you know, best UX, best price, and hopefully people will start to use it.
And let me also ask you about the other news. Robinhood had its earnings. Just as an aside, we're a new public company, and we're learning, and we're getting better, and we look to others to emulate. And I told Johann backstage, these guys are awesome at putting out their earnings, super professional, but also just simple what their strategy is, building the super app, what are their top priorities for this year. Highly recommend you guys go and watch it. The negative side of the earnings today was the crypto results were supposedly disappointing. It doesn't make sense to me because they were damn impressive, and also they put out information along the quarter. But you know, give us kind of what's your reaction to the quarter, the supposedly disappointing crypto results? Like, how are you thinking about the results, but also the future?
Yeah, I mean, you know, overall it was record quarter, record year. So, you know, we feel pretty good. Crypto was almost $1 billion in revenue for Robinhood also last year. So, you know, overall we feel pretty good about our position. But right now our focus is to move away from just crypto trading, using crypto as a foundation for everything that we discussed about. We're also using crypto to expand internationally. We have almost 750,000 customers outside of the US, and more it's going to become a larger portion of our revenue. And now that we're here in Asia, you know, we have Bitstamp, the exchange that we acquired 9 months ago. They have a license in Singapore. We also acquired 2 companies in Indonesia. So we think that, you know, slowly we'll be able to expand, not just in the US, but also become a larger crypto player outside.
You mentioned Bitstamp, and it seems like there's a little more focus on institutional customers. So we all think of Robinhood as more focused on individual customers and high volume investors and traders, but not less so on institutions. Is that a point of focus? And is that something that, as a enterprise, you feel ready to do yet? Like what do you have to do mindset-wise, talent-wise, to be able to really go after institutions in a meaningful way?
Yeah, I think one thing we saw as a consumer of some of his partners is that it was very difficult to find established crypto player with a strong balance sheet, with a strong regard for compliance. And so that's what we're trying to bring here. Bitstamp is part of the public company that Robinhood is. We have $5 billion in cash on the balance sheet. You know, credit risk here doesn't really exist, and we can really build a lot of things that we could not do with smaller exchanges and smaller liquidity provider. So having Bitstamp has been very helpful for that. It also gives us the optionality to build a lot more advanced features. So perpetual in Europe, smart exchange routing in the US, more advanced trading features like trading from the charts or from a ladder. All of this, we couldn't do it with our liquidity provider program, and so we were able to do it with exchange like Bitstamp. But, you know, being here in Hong Kong has been super exciting. We spend a lot of time with institutions, market makers, family offices, hedge funds. and they want to do more with us. So, Bitstamp is slowly becoming more and more impressive in terms of technology as well. And slowly, I think we will be able to grab market share there as well.
Let's talk about tokenization. For those of you who've been sitting in this room, I feel like we should play a drinking game every time the word tokenization comes up. You have a shot. But I think there's a reason for that, because we're seeing real-world assets moved onto public blockchains, either as the actual asset or as a digital twin, so-called digital twin. Robinhood has done a lot in this regard, and in particular has listed U.S. equities, tokenized U.S. equities in Europe. How is that going? Let me start with how is that going, and I'm going to have a follow-up.
Yeah, I mean, the landscape is pretty interesting in Europe because they have a framework that we can use actually to offer the product that we're trying to offer. So we started with 200 stock tokens that gives you exposure to US stocks and ETF. And now we're at about 2,000. So we were able to use this tokenization engine to really expand the type of asset that we offer. And really the beauty of it is like it will work for anything. Private equity, real estate, art, whatever you want, you can tokenize it. And we think it's a game changer because right now to access from Europe, the US stock exchange, maybe okay. If you want to start accessing the Hong Kong exchange or the Singaporean exchange, that becomes complicated.
Good luck, yeah.
A lot of fees, a lot of steps. And so with tokenization, you can remove all of this complexity. You can add on top of it 24/7. You can add instant settlement. And so we just think it's a future of the technology.
And the follow-up is, so that's tokenized U.S. Stocks in Europe. What about tokenized U.S. stocks in the U.S.?
Oh, absolutely.
When is that going to happen?
I mean, we are excited about it. Like, the idea of T+1 settlement is antiquated. We think it's time to put it to bed and to finally have a solution where we can sell as soon as we need or as soon as it's required. And something that, would have not happened in the past, like GME for Robinhood, if we had tokenized stocks. So we think it's important. Part of the Clarity Act is kind of stuck right now with this yield stablecoin discussion. But we think that we need the Clarity Act to pass.
What do you think about this yield stablecoin discussion?
On our point of view, we think that we should be able to pass a yield to the customer. Consumers are smart. They don't want to be locked on a stablecoin and not earn interest if they can do it on a high yield saving account. But the reality is that there are also risk, right? Like a stablecoin is not a FDIC insured saving account. So our point of view is like we should disclose correctly to the customer what we think the risks are and what are like the guarantees or whatever if there's an insurance or something like that. And the consumer can make the choice and decide if they want to keep their high yield saving account or if they want to actually use the stablecoin or if they want to use a tokenized money market fund.
So Johann and I are in the exact same boat. I feel the exact same way. He said it a lot more articulate and more articulate way than I could. And the bill currently precludes intermediaries like Robinhood or Bullish from really paying yield. I guess I'll ask you the same question I asked myself, which is, let's assume for the moment that the only option is a bill that does not allow intermediaries to pay any yield whatsoever. Is the bill a net positive, or should we just punt and say, forget about it, we'll just continue on without any legislation?
No, I think we still need a bill. If you think about Robinhood, for example, we launched staking across the 50 states except 4 of them, because there are different regulations in different states of the US.
Yeah.
We have different products allowed in New York, not allowed in New York, outside of New York. I think at some point it's becoming so complicated to execute in the US that companies are going to start looking outside of it. And you saw it with Mika in Europe. You see it here with some regulation coming up in Hong Kong or in Singapore. At some point, if we want the US to stay like at the top of the game on crypto, we need a bill. I think for stablecoin, it's a problem. The worst case scenario is people are going to adopt tokenized money market fund. Or they are going to use something that will pass the yield. Customers are smart. They want to use stable. Nobody wants to use a wire on ACH anymore. They want the instant transfer and the guarantee that when you send money, it's going over. But at some point, they are losing money on the return. So we need to find a way to pass it.
I'm switching gears. I've been watching some of these, I'll call it DeFi. They're not really decentralized, but some of these other platforms like Hyperliquid that has so much momentum. What's Robinhood's role to play with respect to this growth of trading in those types of venues?
Yeah, I mean, we think DeFi is super exciting. I think, with hyperliquid, especially like Hype3, I think it's really cool. Like the fact you can create markets for many things. We decided to invest in Lighter, which is another DEX for perpetual that is a competitor. And, I think overall that's the idea that we believe is that a lot of assets needs to be traded, and we need to create liquidity for that, and this platform are very helpful for that.
And so will you be the front door for your customers to those venues?
We have a self-custody wallet, Robinhood wallet, that you can use to connect to Hyperliquid or anything else. On our side, we also have perpetuals in the EU where you can connect to our own exchange and trade perps on it. But same situation with the Clarity Act, right? Like, where is DeFi playing into this act? Do we allow these DEXs? Do we not allow them? Are they regulated by the CFTC for perps? Are they not? There is a lot of work to do there.
Where do you want to see that come out?
I really think we should have the same regulation that protects the customers at the end of the day. Like, it doesn't really matter if you're DEX or SEX, you should have at least the same protection for customers.
I'd love to debate you, but I agree. I agree 100% with everything you just said. Let me ask you a question. I looked this morning at volumes, market wide, not Robinhood volumes. They're terrible. Like if you look since October, volumes are down by half. Round numbers. I was looking at Binance is down. I think it was on perps is down like 60%, 65%, and it feels to me like there's some real bad taste in the retail mouth about crypto in the world because of what happened on October 10th. But otherwise as well, because prices have come down and people feel like, wait, betrayed in some form or fashion. Is that your sense of where we are? It's a pretty tough time. And if so, where do you see it going from here? Are you optimistic that it's going to come back?
Yeah, I think if you look at our customers and their behavior, we actually don't see a massive net sell. We actually see a lot of people buying the dip. We see them diversifying their portfolio, going more long-tail type of assets. So I think it's a big shift also of where we were like a few years ago. If you compare, like now we have institution, we have ETF, we have banks talking about offering crypto to their customers. You have tokenization happening. There's a lot of utility being brought on the market. So, I still feel very optimistic there. But the reality also is that last year there was, 50,000 new assets created every day on some of the network. And so I think that kind of made a lot of customers tired of it. And so I think we need to focus a bit more on utility, bringing back like the idea of blockchain technology being useful for traditional finance, new type of asset, new type of trading. And you will see that customers will come back to trading.
And are you seeing anything in your mix of the types of tokens? You have people migrated to, I'll call it quality, the largest 5-10 tokens as opposed to the tail. Are there any trends to pick up there or not so much?
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of that. And it's hard to actually say like which one is number 4, number 5. It changed by the day. The other thing that we see on our platform, which is exciting, is people moving to different type of asset class. So prediction market, for example, we have a lot of people trading crypto through that. It's a bit easier sometimes than trying to pick the winner. You can actually pick a theme or a contract that is a bit more generic. We see people investing in ETF and trying to collect the premium. So we're starting to see a lot of strategy across financial instrument.
Is there anything you want to tell the audience with respect to Robinhood Chain, the testnet launch, like how people should be thinking about gearing up to be using it?
Yeah, so the testnet is live. You can start connecting to it. We have all the documentation on the website. And we're also starting a hackathon in multiple cities across the globe with $1 million in prize. So, we want people to build on the chain, and we want to help you build on it and be successful.
Love it. This was great. Please give Johann an extra loud round of applause for a very substantive conversation here.